might work. That might just do it.
All right.
Great.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to the second installment of the EPICS Learning.
Hey there, everybody. Excuse me for my voice. Fighting a head cold. Did so well while we were in COVID because we had masks on all the time. But I got quite busy doing a lot of community engagement with K through 12 students, and we've had them like back to back to back. And we have a grant because as you're going to learn quickly, most of my mission is community service. And I'm just grateful that my alma mater, Purdue Engineering, back in the Stone Ages, so I'll get some historical context with that too, because of course this building wasn't here. Um, but with that, we have an industry partner, Hickman Pharmaceuticals. So we've got a camper running every Saturday until December 17th with fifth to eighth graders doing robotics. But then we've done some other community engagement things with middle school students and high school students the last few weeks. So I've had like K through 12 students a couple of weeks ago, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so it's just been a whirlwind. So I think it finally caught up with me with teaching still, involved in some areas of research as well as a lot of community engagement that we do in Anderson as well. So just for me to get a feel for where you guys are. Now, is everyone here undergraduates? Okay, how many, any seniors? Okay, good mix. Any juniors? Sophomores? Okay, so I got seniors, okay, two S's, seniors and sophomores, great. And different engineering disciplines as well? Okay, so just real quickly, what's your engineering discipline?
Chemical. Integrated business and engineering.
Okay, good. Okay, good. It's always mechanical. Even at my location, I'm at Purdue Polytechnic in Anderson, and as you well know, we're a land grant school, so Polytechnic was the college deemed to be able to service all of the state, because again, our mission is to educate all we can in Indiana, the best we can. So again, it used to be College of Technology, now Polytechnic. I'm at one of the locations in Anderson, Indiana, and actually grew up in Anderson. I was born in Milwaukee, but grew up in Anderson. And I worked, I kind of laughed when Dr. Martinez called me to say, hey, would you like to participate? Because I'm a former GM employee also. So when he said it was, sponsored by General Motors, I'm like, well, that's poetic justice for me to come back and to serve in this capacity as well as when I was a co-op student. Anybody co-op student or no co-op students? Yeah, co-ops unite. Okay, so I was a co-op student as well with Delco Remy Division of General Motors. And I have had basically two careers on the same piece of land. So where our new facility is in Anderson, Indiana, is located on what's called Plant 3. And back then it was this old grungy manufacturing building where we made starters for the vehicles. And we did heavy duty and light duty. Where I was located, we did the light duty starters. But on that same piece of land where I'm working now with our really nice facility there, was also Plant 3. So again, I'm probably one of the only people you may have come this year that says they've had 2 careers on the same piece of land, but did work for General Motors in several capacities, and enjoyed it. And I'm an industrial engineering major, and also got my master's at Columbia University in New York City. And anybody been to New York City? Okay, it's definitely a different place, isn't it? Yeah, when I got there, excuse me, I said, this is definitely not a part of the United States, but everybody should go visit because I really enjoyed it. And the experience at Columbia was absolutely amazing. Extremely expensive, but I would still say worth every penny for the exposures of faculty and students that I got to hang out with for a few years up there as well. But getting into, listening and reading, I've always seen EPICS, the letters, wasn't sure what it was, and then I'm like, okay, this is impressive. Engineering projects and community service. And that's why I'm kind of framing what you'll see on a few of my slides will be about this. Because when I was here, it wasn't pushed as much to do community service. We kind of did some, because as a matter of fact, they even gave us some credit if you did some community service when I was here. And I did quite a bit of that with tutoring in Lafayette to help and doing some peer tutoring and counseling as well with the University Church some years back. But with this, I wanted to, have you guys ever saw this where it talked about if the world was just 100 people? Have any of you ever seen that before? Okay, great. We're going to spend a little bit of time with this. So basically saying if the world were just 100 people, and I mean globally. Now, if we look at Canada, United States, we're only 5% of the population. So that puts us already, what I'm going to kind of challenge us on, in a privileged position. Because basically 95% of the rest of the world isn't from Canada and the US. But when you look at some of the information here, it shows you why we're kind of coming from a position of privilege. So 50% are going to be female and male, but I want to kind of scroll down. There's some more you kind of skim through as well with that. But the one I want to kind of focus in on, where it talks about the area of, let me see where I'm going to go with this. I'll just stay here. You see the line where it says, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4 from the bottom in grouping, where it says 1 would have a college education. You guys able to see that one? So that means 99 don't. 99 don't have the privilege you guys have sitting here. But when we look at the levels of need, and you guys again are looking at things globally as well, which is great, it puts us in a position where we have to think about, do we have a responsibility of service? And I would say yes. Because yeah, you can make a great mark and a great impact in what you're working on, and then looking if you can scale it up for what you're doing as well. But looking at the simple fact again that only 1 have a college education and only 1 own a computer. So that means we've still got we're creating more and more of a great divide between several citizens around the world. And I don't know if you've heard of an organization called Global Citizens. They had a massive, they've been around several years, but they culminate with a very huge concert. I think it was last month. It's normally the latter part of September. And so they have a huge group out of Central Park in New York that have a whole venue going on. This year it was based, I believe, out of Ghana in Africa. But it looks at us viewing ourselves as global citizens and not being so skewed where we are regionally, and how we can help make an impact with that as well. Coming from, again, our position of privilege and being able to look at some of the projects you're working on, can you scale those up? And then looking at it and thinking through that, because I'm always going to come and challenge, especially groups of students, to think about, again, the position of privilege. When you see if the world is looked at it from 100 people, you're 1 of 99. So the question gets to be, are we going to keep just looking after or looking for the next 1 in the 100 to hang out with, or are we going to say we're going to try to serve with the 99 that we're a part of? A lot of times it tends to be we will keep trying to just hang out with the 1 that's in the next 100 group, instead of realizing, kind of casting our buckets where we are and saying we know we have a position of privilege, we have a knowledge base, but working together, we can solve some of the challenges that we're seeing and probably some of the projects you're working on in some form or fashion. I may, if time permits, see what some of those projects are because I'm very intrigued to see what you're working on as well. Another area which I say consider thinking about and challenging as well. Have you heard of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Anybody ever heard of those? Great, I'm seeing some heads nod, that's great. How did you hear about these?
It was in one of my classes I took a couple semesters ago.
Okay, through EPICS or a different class?
Just in course year.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Okay. And again, a lot of times, a lot of the work's been done for us. So again, when the United Nations got together, and this is a goal they have to get to these goals by 2030. Now it's coming up kind of quick. It's been a while since they made these, but when you're looking at your project, does it hit one of these goals? And I don't know how more visible that is. It's not too bad. You guys got good eyes too. Mine's a little bit older than yours, so hopefully from where some of you are sitting, it's not so bad to see. But looking at some of the goals of, again, no poverty, zero hunger, affordable and clean energy, a lot of it around sustainability. And looking at how we deal with education, clean water and sanitation. I don't know if you've heard about the challenges in Jackson, Mississippi. And they have a massive water crisis there. Now, mind you, Jackson is the capital of Mississippi. So we have, out of 50 states, we have at least one capital that's in crisis on something basic as water. But their pipes are bad. It's an infrastructure issue they've had, and they've kind of kicked the can down the curb. And so now they're looking for individuals like you all to figure out how we work around our system instead of fixing it. And so we're looking at ways to deliver clean water to groups of people, and several universities in the area as well. And but again, how are we here in 2022, and one of our state capitals out of 50 has a massive water crisis where people can't drink the water, can't bathe in the water, have to boil water, but they're still getting charged a utility bill as well with that. So those are the type of things we're looking at. But as you are working on your project, ask yourself, does it hit some of these goals? Because again, these are the ones that they believe can make the biggest impact in what we're doing. Even if you're doing a project very local to Lafayette or West Lafayette, does it impact any of these areas? 9 times out of 10, it probably will. And one I wanted to kind of focus in on was looking at, let me go back to here. Let me see if I can put this down for a minute. Was this, I don't know if you guys can see that okay, but it was looking at, I got a seed grant from Polytechnic, and it was the Committee on Looking at Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Advocacy. And they offered some seed money a while back, well, last year, and asking, are you interested in working with a partner and doing something around the areas of diversity to make an impact of some of the work you're doing and some of the course content you're teaching in? So I put a pitch in and got some funding to do this particular type of a supply chain. So I want to do something that was for young ladies, because as we know the data, a lot of women, which is good because it's almost, yeah, you guys dominate, thank you. Don't see that too often, but I hear engineering is pretty close in gender demographics. But when we look at black females in particular, the numbers are very